Son.
Your son.
My son is 5.
Yeah, he
5-year-old boy. And I hid him for now. He may be coming to visit and to peek his head in. What are you doing, mommy? Hi, mommy. What? Mommy, hi.
Excellent. That's what the show is about.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new addition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving cause they ain't ready for your final version. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, hey. Yeah, this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm...
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH LP 103.5 FM.
Good morning, everybody. And Harry, thanks for that intro. We're going to jump right in because this is, some people say this is a crisis, but I guess life, regardless of whether it's before COVID or after COVID, life is precarious just in the normal course of events. But of course, these recent 8 or 9 weeks have kind of indicated that we have some issues to kind of deal with, some human issues, some global issues, some personal issues, some family issues, and just as important, some educational issues. If the planet had truly been educated, we may not have gotten to this stage. But regardless, we're going to start to talk about distant learning and new platforms, same passion. Veteran educators are going to have been kind enough through Jonathan Berryman's help and production to help us with discussing distance learning. And we're really blessed. We're blessed and honored to have on the show. I'm going to read some of the names of folks that even may be joining us after we start. But at the top, we're going to start with I want to introduce Dr. Eileen Tracy, that many of you perhaps know, and if you don't, you're going to continue to know her. She's a star in her own right already, Dr. Tracy. Superintendent of Schools, and Tiffany Jackson, Director of Student Services. Kimberly Phillips is a 5th and 6th grade language arts teacher at Barnard School. Jonathan Q. Berryman. Jonathan told me he's a music teacher, but we know that he's much more than that at Barnard School, and I'm not going to embarrass you, Jonathan, with all of your accolades, but you know I'm number one on your, well, I'm part of your board meeting for your fan club. Jennifer Jenkins is with us, assistant principal at Ross Woodward School. Robert McCain might be joining us, principal at Barnard School. And Dee Martin, reading interventionist at Hill Central School. Dr. Tracy, again, let's jump right in. There's one kind of just common theme that I know it's on your hearts and minds in terms of what is this distant learning initiative and platform, and just the need for it. What does it mean? What does it mean today? What does it mean for the future? And more just importantly, the challenges that you're facing and the solutions that we know that might not be available today, but we're working on solutions daily. So Dr. Tracy, I want to give you the first crack at it. And it's the same question, everybody, we have about 45 minutes, so we don't have to rush that much. And definitely we can do this again. But distant learning, and everyone on the panel are veteran educators. And what does that mean today, tomorrow, the challenges, the solutions, and even some recommendations as people listen to this show for this point in time. Dr. Tracy?
Well, thank you, Mr. Ficklin. I am Eileen Tracy, Interim Superintendent, New Haven Public Schools. I must say that just a few weeks ago, the word distant learning was not a part of our vocabulary at all. Everything for us was face-to-face. However, in these unprecedented times, we are plunged into having to do something with our students. And the word distant means that we're not actually seeing the students. We are not within the 4 walls of school as we have it. And maybe good for some students and not good for some. Some students are not able to succeed in front of the live teachers, and they could care less, some of them, to see a teacher. They really would love to. And then there's no behavior problems to deal with. Talking back to the teacher, the teacher's talking back to them. 1+ right there for a lot of the students. There are no suspensions going on. oh, everybody's perfect attendance now. This is some positives to what has happened. But in terms of this, I must say that I must praise my teachers, my staff, my principals for having adjusted in such a short time to what's called distant learning. It's not something that we had canned and put aside and say, okay, these are the distant learning lessons. This is what we're going to do. This is something that they were plunged in within a matter of a couple of days to think about and what it would look like. And having said that, we know that it is not perfect and we were not expecting perfection. But what we were told that we ought to have what we call an opportunity for learning, continuation of learning for our students in the best way possible. So I give credit to my teachers for doing what they have done in such a short time in the best way possible. Are we learning from this? Yes, we are learning from this. This has opened up a whole arena of what I would call inequities. Has been there before. I know it has been there. But this had shed more light on the inequitable situation that's facing our youngsters and inequity in terms of access to learning, inequity in terms of the lack of devices that we have when we realized what was going on, inequities in terms of their students who have to work to sustain their families who may have lost their jobs. There are students who may not get an opportunity to be on online learning because they may not have internet access or they may not have received a tablet. So we have these still going on. And the question is, how do we continue to reach out? Because we do packets, but we know packets can't teach kids. It's just a matter of keeping them engaged. You can't, if packets could teach students, there would be no need for teachers and no need for schools. You just have a big warehouse and copy packets upon packets upon packets and distribute to kids. So we know that's not the answer. But moving forward, we're going to build upon the strengths we have discovered during this time. We're going to build upon the whole idea, whole notion of what distant learning should look like in a more pronounced way, in a way that is servicing all our students, and saying that before we can even plunge into a one-to-one distant learning situation, we have to ensure that all our students, all 20,000 plus students have access to an electronic device in their homes. And that's one of my missions, to make sure that we have that. And when we start up school, I strongly believe we're not going to have school for the rest of the year, but that distant learning will continue until the point at which we close school down normally, based on our calendar contractually. And I think looking at other schools around, districts around in terms of states, we have seen them closing down school for the rest of the year, but continuing distant learning. And New York has done that. Some other states have done that. I'm pretty sure Connecticut is going to follow suit. And I think sometime this week, the governor is going to make some kind of announcement around that. So we have a lot that we're planning right now, and I'll close my mouth and let the staff chip in. But we have developed a task force to look at different aspects of what the work would look like going forward. We have developed a task force dealing with instruction. What would that look like moving forward? Looking at wellness, which is social emotional learning, what that would look like. We have a task force looking at operations and facilities, opening up back what that should look like, and a task force dealing with governance. And we started out with a big group, but then those groups are going to branch out to bring more people on to that task force to get people's ideas, because I think together we can make that difference as we work together. It's not Eileen, Tracy, it's all of us together.
Dr. Tracy, that's so profound, and I really am so glad to be able to do this show where people will understand that we're really in a strategic planning mode, but also in a day-to-day instruction mode. So you're juggling several balls at the same time, as well as trying to deliver services, and that's really the beauty of having the folks that are on this call also for the community to know that business is going on, work is going on, thinking is going on, strategic planning is going on. Tiffany, I thought if you might want to kind of join in and kind of echo or share or elaborate on what Dr. Tracy has mentioned, because as Director of Student Services, I mean, that's key that's always key, 24/7, 365, but I'm certainly under these situations. So Tiffany, welcome, and I just wondered if you'd like to share a few comments.
Sure. First and foremost, I just want to echo what Dr. Tracy is saying, that our administrators and our staff, administrators, teachers, and all of our staff have been tremendously supportive of our students. We could never have fathomed what was going to happen and the amount of change that happened in a small period of time. So I'm, just in awe of how folks came together as a community. I think that one thing that we're finding out, that there's been a struggle and an opportunity. The struggle has been, as Dr. Tracy has outlined, that, many of our families or many of our students, online distance learning is not necessarily the platform by which students can gather information. The good piece of it, or the place that maybe there's some promise and some hope of some, things to come, it really helps us to look at our blended learning opportunities. So Dr. Tracy talked about this whole, notion of a digital divide. It gives us an opportunity to really look at, what is it that we have by way of technology? What are the opportunities by way of learning? How do we build, capacity of our students, of staff, to be able to utilize different technologies, in spite of just what's going on during this pandemic event, but what can we do moving forward? One of the things that we've also recognized during this time is that, it's taken a social emotional toll on, on all of us.
Yes.
I and Dr. Tracy knows this, I struggle with my 9-year-old. Dr. Tracy and I used to talk every morning, but I can't talk with her any morning because I'm, struggling to get online with my own kid. But I recognize that in some of our families, that they're talking about the fact that I just can't do this. My work schedule, what's going on in the households, is not conducive to that. And then we've had to adjust, and our teachers and our administrators alike have done that. So we've had some families where we've had to take a step back and say, you know what, we may have to do something a little more individualized. We have to work with our families. And I think our families have been working with us, which has also been tremendous. I'll talk just a little bit briefly, and then I'll get off just about the social emotional learning pieces.
Please.
Been doing their due diligence, reaching out to families and students, specifically focused and prioritizing those students that we know there's some grave concerns. But one of the things that we've started, and I can't take credit for this, this is part of our social emotional learning team. We've tried to start what's called the Wellness Wednesday initiative, and really looking at the notion of trying to figure out, how do we take a step back? How do we really look at incorporating, some wellness activities for our students, some mindfulness, some things just to take a step back from it all, and really being able to look at not just the academic pieces, but the social emotional learning pieces. And I know Mr. Berryman told me, because I reached out to him, this may be a good time for Mr. Berryman also. I reached out to him even as a teacher and said, are you doing Wellness Wednesdays? And him and I have a good relationship. So I was joking kind of sort of with him just to make sure that he was doing it. But then he also responded about, these are things that he incorporates into his everyday teaching, that really making sure that we're taking care of both the academic and the social emotional learning pieces of our kids and of our staff, and making sure that we're sending out things to really take care of our staff, who, again, if our staff are not taken care of, they can't be their best for students. So with that, I'll give it back to you, or I'm thinking, Jonathan, this may be a time.
Nice try, Kimberly, but nice try, Tiffany. But this is my show, so I have a follow-up question for you. So Jonathan, hold your mule, Jonathan, and Jennifer, we'll come to you, and Robert as well. But I was curious, Tiffany, about how do parents know about the Wellness Wednesdays? I mean, I was really intrigued that you're still making efforts to maintain contact.
Yeah. So we've started it already. We started it with our staff. So it's been something that's been internal. It's not been something that we've done external. The one thing what we did this week as a Wellness Wednesday activity, we sent out to principals, and this just happened this week, really looking at the notion of what we call was a reverse parade as an example, and really giving an opportunity of how students and administrators can connect. And that was just something that we sent out this weekend, so that this way we can encourage more of our students and more of our staff. And that's something to extend beyond just the internal staff, but also the school community. But you bring up a good point, and that's something that we're looking at in being able to spread this concept beyond just our school community, but also to our family community.
And thanks for sharing that, because there's so much, all of you have heard that kind of mantra in crisis comes opportunity. And we hear about social emotional learning, and we hear about trauma, et cetera. But again, this is a time where I'll speak for myself. I'm definitely going through trauma. I think I had my therapist session this afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'm just saying, just to kind of share. And and some of my friends, I'll ask them how they're doing, and they're saying that they're fine. And I know they're lying through their teeth. So, well, maybe not, but maybe they're just not in touch with who they might be. But my point is that the fact is, for us, for the school system, the school infrastructure, for the principals and teachers and administrators to be healthy and well and productive, they have to have some sort of support. So I really appreciate you saying that for Dr. Tracy's team to be energized and committed, and because it's the stress, regardless of your age and your social, this is a ridiculous time in terms of your mental stability. So I appreciate you sharing that. Tiffany, how long have you been with the system?
Gosh,
10,000 years?
I know, that's like the hardest question. I think 12 years.
12 years?
Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah, so far so good?
No, actually going into 13 years.
13 years. And that's the thing of the veteran, and I appreciate you sharing that. I'm not going to go through the bio for everybody. The veteran expertise, the expertise we have, you think of the collective number of years that people on the call, but just turn in the system that can help out. And even Dr. Tracy, a lot of your alumni. If you think of the principals.
Ask Dr. Tracy how many years she's been here.
No, I'm gonna see.
No,
Dr. Tracy, I tried to avoid that. Let's just say that she's wise beyond her years. I think we better go to somebody else quickly.
Yeah.
But the point is just you guys have seen changes within the school system, and now in terms of the whole educational industry, I don't use that term negatively. In terms of what does education mean for the future, this is a pivotal moment. I mean, in so many ways, for people like yourselves that have been passionate and have dedicated your lives to what does education mean in terms of uplifting humanity. This is such an important. It's a creative time too. If you perceive it from a creative standpoint. But Kimberly, let's. Kimberly, are you there?
Yeah.
Has your son kind of Zoom opt, photobombed?
He has not photobombed yet. I hid him away and said he can stop working and he can watch cartoons for a little bit.
I see. Okay, so the reciprocal trade-off kind of thing kicks in. Kimberly,
yes.
5th and 6th grade language arts teacher at Bernard School.
Yes.
We know that how language is so important. I mean, just in terms of your social, emotional development, your cognitive development, just the way you see life. So Kimberly, kind of chip in, if you would, and share and elaborate. And I'm really glad to see you this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me. My principal, Mr. McCain, is actually on the Zoom as well, and he let us know. He let us know ahead of time, and Dr. Tracy has been great, kind of keeping us in the loop as much as she can. And we planned, and we planned our 2 weeks, and in our naivete, it was like, it's just be 2 weeks and we'll be back at school. No worries, no problems. And then the 2 weeks went to 4, and then it's like switch. And my teammates and I, we collaborate all the time. We're on text, we're on Group Meet, we're on Google Meets. Every day we speak at least 2-3 times a day, and we had to talk, and we had to make a schedule on the days that we were going to have the kids to meet and what times. And just piggybacking off of what Tiffany said about the social emotional, we actually have a motivational moments during the day in our schedule. So we all choose a day, and we just come on, and we have a Google Meet time, and the teachers hop on, the kids hop on, and we laugh, and we're silly, and we're joking around, and it's not academic time. And we tell the kids all the time that it's not academic time. We've shown them our houses, and my son's photobombed, and I told them about our baking that we're doing. My son is a chef now. So he has his little chef hat on and he's making banana bread and pancakes and all those things just to kind of get his mind off of and my mind off of not being in our regular routine. Because he's 5 and his teacher has Google Meets too with us, and he had a class meet and the kids were so cute. They were like, hi, I miss you. Why can't we go back to school? And so just like I said, having the time to just talk and laugh. Some of the parents come on to the Google Meet. Hey, Miss Phillips. Hey, Miss Moy. And they're just saying, hi, how you doing? How you feeling? And we're just saying to them, how are you feeling? How is everything going with you? We try to plan our academic time so that it's not being middle school, so that it's not encumbering on the parents' time and it's not a stressful time. So when we are planning things, we're mindful of all the situations that our parents and our children are going through. I was just actually over the weekend, I met with a parent on the group, on the Google Meets, and she don't know what's going on. I'm nervous. I want him to participate and I just don't know what to do. So I walked her through getting to the Google Meets. I walked her to getting to our Google Classroom. I walked her through our schedule and how he can click on his things. And then she was able to get on the Google Meet and we were able to talk and we were able to see each other and we laughed and he laughed and it was nice and she felt comfortable and she was like, well, I'm sorry to bother you. I know I said, it's not a bother. I understand what's going on. This is a situation that no one could have foretold. And it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Your child is my student. And anytime we gave the kids our numbers, they text us up until 11 o'clock at night. Some 5th graders are texting at 3 o'clock in the morning. But just that they feel comfortable enough to reach out to us is a blessing during this time, even with, son and trying to manipulate doing kindergarten and doing 5th and 6th grade ELA. But he keeps me on my toes, definitely.
Kimberly, I was intrigued when you mentioned about the calls with the parents and the students. Is that just for Bernard, Dr. Tracy, or is that system-wide? I mean, I'm really, say more about that. I'm really intrigued about this daily.
I think other teachers across the district are doing it as well. It just so happens that with us being a middle school, we didn't want to overwhelm the parents. So we have certain days where we meet with the kids. So like, for example, on Mondays and Wednesdays, that's their ELA day. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have...
For folks that aren't aware what ELA is, that English?
English and language arts. That's their English and language arts day. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have their science and math day. And then, so in between time, the parents can call us, we can consult, we can meet with the kids anytime. And we've given them, like I said, we've given them our phone numbers. The parents can reach out via email, via the phone, texts, any way that and like I said, I believe educators across the district are doing the same thing. It just so happens that that was the time of the day, that we were talking, her, I, and my student. Excellent. And it was fun. And it was funny because he has a younger sibling and she's like 3. So she's peeking in, hi. And my son's peeking in, hi. And I'm like, okay, you can't talk to her right now because I'm talking to her, trying to explain what's going on. Yeah. But like I said, I appreciate the parents feeling comfortable enough to reach out, because if you don't know, you should be able to ask and not feel like you're being a burden, because our parents and our children are not burdens at all, especially in, like I said, during this time that no one knew was going to come about, our children feeling comfortable is the most important thing. And that's something that Mr. McCain tells us all the time. The children and the families' comfort is most important. That's before academics and anything else. So it's more relationship building than anything else.
Jonathan, Jennifer, and Mr. McCain, and Dee, before I come to you, Dr. Tracy, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Tom.
I'm recognizing you, Dr. Tracy.
Thank you so much. So what I want to say, the level of communication varies from school to school. Some people may not want to use their own telephone numbers, but they've found ways to communicate with their families. I've heard from families that, as a matter of fact, for some of them, too many people calling them because they're getting called from special education. Some of them, they're getting called from the regular teachers, from folks from the youth family community engagement. So it's like there's an inundation of calls. Some of them like that. Some really don't care for too many calls because there seem to be too many. So it's a matter of striking a balance. But one of the things we encourage our staff to do, make sure that you stay in connection with your students.
Yes.
It's not even so much about the academics right now. You have to be checking on their well-being, the total well-being of the child, because we have found out, Tom, that there are families who still need food. We discovered about 500 homeless children. It's a gargantuan task.
Yes.
This and so many different needs that surface during this time. And we have staff at every angle, every aspect of the organization trying to reach out and do the best they can during this time.
And Jonathan and Jennifer and Mr. Robert, Mr. McCain and Dee, before I come to you, just Dr. Tracy's kind of stirred a question in my mind. Just when you use that SAT term gargantuan, Dr. Tracy, it occurred to me that even something as basic as the SAT test, I mean, that's been impacted, right? If you're a high school junior and gets your college applications, would you just talk about that? Because I think people don't understand the ramifications of every aspect of our life and being has been affected by this. So just in terms of SATs, the prep, the taking the test, college applications, the burden on you guys is, you guys deserve a raise. I mean, basically.
Thank you. So with regard to any standardized test, the state has waived a number of standardized tests and they will not count against students. And along with that, there are colleges that have done a lot of waivers around what they will accept from students. So it's across the nation. It's not New Haven Public School. This is nationwide with this shutdown. I think, Tiffany, if I'm not mistaken, they still allow students to take some form of testing. I don't recall.
AP testing.
AP testing.
Advanced placement?
Advanced placement testing, yes. Okay. But one thing I'm happy that many colleges have waived what they desire for acceptance because they're struggling also.
Yes.
So they're going to need students.
Right.
No matter what, so the better waive. And so there are a lot of colleges, I know Southern and other colleges have waived what they're expecting for acceptance this year for the next year.
Great. Jonathan, again, I want to come to you and thanks again for, we were talking offline about the show. Jonathan, I believe this is the 5th year of doing the Tom Ficklin show, and I'm pretty sure, Jonathan, you're either on my first or second guest. So we've and obviously all of you know about his Heritage Corral involvement and his Messiah Baptist involvement and his sartorial, should I say, his sartorial involvement as well. But okay, enough of those SAT words. Jonathan, chip in, man, chip in. I mean, and thank you so much for helping to organize this.
Absolutely. As we talk about this distance learning venture, as challenging as this season is, it's also exciting. Because I can't think of any other opportunity that could have arisen that would have exposed the digital divide the way that this is done. Absolutely. That would have really highlighted some of the inequities within our own state and even within our own community, and forced us to deal with them at the same time. So as challenging as this is an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to really look at, not just talk about, but to really witness and to see what inequity looks like within our own state, and to do something about it. So kudos to Dr. Tracy and to all of those who are helping us to recognize that the digital divide needs to be narrowed, and who are strategizing about what that narrowing looks like. It's also an exciting time as we look at engagement. People have this idea that teachers are disengaged. They just come in, they're here to collect a paycheck, and that's some people's perception, that we have no contact with the community, that it's just a job, and that is the complete opposite. It is amazing to talk with colleagues and to see and to really hear all of the things that we're going through to make sure that our students and our families know that we care. It's also exciting. Some people have this perception that our parents aren't engaged, and I am seeing quite the opposite. That our parents are not only engaged, they are helping their children learn. They are making, for my class, they're helping their children return recordings of their singing. I see families singing together, families working together, brothers and sisters and little cousins in the background who don't even go to who aren't even in my class, who are still learning music. So I think part of it is, as we look at this whole concept of distance learning or using more technology to learn, it's an opportunity for us to really reconsider what best practices look like in 2020 and beyond, where technology certainly is another way to offer differentiation by process, by product, and content. So it is a fascinating opportunity, and I'm not sure that we would have been able to do the level of PD that we have done in a school year. I've talked to, music teachers have talked together. What are you doing? How are you doing this? Classroom teachers have been collaborating. How are we doing this? It has been some of the greatest PLC work I've seen in a long time.
PLC is the acronym for
Professional Learning Community. So all of us are trying to help each other figure out how to best service our students, because ultimately as educators, we're in the customer service business. That is not just providing a product, but it's also providing all of the care and the social and emotional learning support that goes along with that. So even with this concept of grading, this is not a time to be punitive. This is a time to be encouraging.
Amen.
I said, if you survive this pandemic with your sanity, even if you don't have your sanity, if you survive, period, that's a level of success. So engaging parents, engaging communities, engaging colleagues has been awesome during this time. Yes, we have some people who are still not on the grid. Yes, we have some people who are still not engaged. And Dr. Tracy and Central Office are working on that. But for those of us who are tending to the flock, who are engaged, that's an awesome privilege and responsibility.
Well, that's tremendous. Jennifer and Mr. McCain and Dee, before I come to you, Dr. Tracy, for someone that might just be tuning in, and again, the beauty is these shows are recorded and archived, and we'll be able to send them out and send you the links to share with your parents and other constituents and other teachers. But Dr. Tracy, review, if you would, again, you mentioned the various task forces that you have. I think people need to know that, again, you have people on the ground. There's a brainstorming going on about how to survive and thrive even after we come out of this. So I guess share with someone that might be just tuning in the various task forces that you've already created, because that's important for the community to know. We're just not sleeping back and accepting this. We're being proactive in your actions.
So let me say, Tom, thank you very much. So for me, I'm at work and some of my staff members every single day. We are not letting up because we do not want people to think that our frontline workers are working and we are sitting back or complacent. We are all working. We're always thinking and strategizing and planning and comforting staff around what is going on. So in the task force, we already have going on our strategic planning, a 3-year strategic plan that we already have a draft of that's been working on the side too, carefully orchestrated by or facilitated by Ms. Tiffany Jackson and her team. We have technology teams planning for helping teachers to access technology and all these different things going on. So as Jonathan pointed out, PD, professional development, going on constantly gives us time for that. So in terms of this, the task force, when we thought about, we never know when we're going to be directed to close totally and to start thinking about opening up in the fall, if we do, and I say if, but we want to have a plan in place for what that would look like. So we've convened a team of teachers, parents, students, community members, staff members, administrators, and we started looking at, I think it was 4 major areas. We look at what technology would look like. What does it mean for kids? Operations and facilities. What is it we need to do? Whether or not we're going to go back to practice distancing, social distancing, and what does that mean? Down to the very cleaning of what type of cleaning should happen in our buildings, how students will be able to get their materials that are left in the school. Teachers left their materials like, here comes, run, get out of there kind of image, and everything is left behind. So we have to strategize. We have another task force, a branch of the task force dealing with instruction. Are we going to do hybrid learning or any blended learning type of situation, a flipped classroom? What is it we're going to do? How are we going to incorporate technology into this new wave of learning? Because it cannot be the same. It cannot be the same. So we have to start thinking forward. And we have a governance team that is actually the governing force around all of this, to do the messaging and the communication and the connection. So it's almost like we have an SPMT on this task force. School planning management team, we call it district planning management team on this task force. And one thing I like about that is that it's broad. It consists of all sector of New Haven public school community.
That's tremendous. And again, I want to thank, I know you were involved with the citywide parents Zoom call, and I've seen you on Paul Bassett's show. So I want to thank you again for your availability in spite of all the work you've had to do. Jennifer, just before I come to you, Dr. Tracy, share, because so much is still up in the air, but in the past there would be summer school.
Yes.
So now what does that mean in terms of, and I don't mean to give you these ambiguous these questions that are just for people to, the point of my asking that question is just for folks to realize that what we just assume to be normative, now that's up in the air.
Yes, you're correct.
And we know all the literature, you guys know it better than I, about people grades slipping back. At summer is a time where people maybe forget what they learned in the school year, and then they got to catch up in September. But what does summer school look like, if at all, this coming in these coming months?
So summer school, taking that out of the task force, I have a team of individuals who have been planning summer school, but that was on a normal situation, because by law we have to plan for a group of students K-3 that we consider substantially deficient around reading. And we had to plan for those. It's based on a grant that's called the School Accountability Grant that we received from the state. And we run that every year. We also had a program that we call SOARS. That's for enrichment for 4th through 8th grade. And we also had another one, which was credit retrieval program for high school youngsters, primarily seniors, some 11th grade, and whatever we have the licensing for or their capacity to accommodate. And so are we still planning? Yes, we're still planning, because what we don't know is whether or not they're going to say we can't go into the school in the summer. So we're still planning. One thing I don't want, though, is for us to put those little ones through any more online learning, because a student who is substantially deficient or a struggling learner, online learning cannot take care of that deficiency. It needs that one-to-one teacher working with the student to get that student up to speed. But in regards to the high school part, we can still offer, even if we can't meet face-to-face, we can still offer online learning credit recovery program through a program we have called Edgenuity. And it depends on what the capacity of that program is. We're looking into that right now. So especially our seniors will need that to graduate and finish up their senior year. So we're looking at that right now. So what that will look like and how we can best support our young people, juniors and seniors primarily.
Excellent.
High school, it's not a matter of moving on in that progression. It's a matter of the amount of credits you have accrued in order to move on to the next grade. Theirs is a little different.
Yes, yes. Jennifer.
Yes.
Patient. Jennifer's been patient. Mr. McCain's been patient. D, I see you, dear. Where's D? I see you. We're getting to you. Jennifer, okay. please share.
So first of all, I think the thing that stands out for me most is I am most grateful at this time that I work both on school leadership level and with district leadership across the board that have one focus that is key priority, and that really has been and continues to be the physical, emotional, and mental health of everyone. Of everyone, of every child, of every family, of every staff member. That is our first line and the most important thing. With that, at this time, to be true to that, we had to make sure we're reaching every student. So our first priority definitely was, we need to know what students we haven't heard from, what families we haven't heard from. We spoke a little bit about task force. And one of the, just thinking of the chain from school up through central office that really has been consistent and helpful with that has been knowing teachers, administrators, we're doing our best to reach out to families that we may not have heard from, but we know we have others that we go to at a central office level. These are the people we haven't seen, help us. And then the communication has been very fluid to help make sure that we, as not just one classroom teacher, not just one school building, but as a district are truly working together to make sure we have contact on some level at some point with every single family to know what the need is and what we can do just to help continue education for the students. The second part to that, when we talk about distance learning and how quickly we've had to adjust to it and equity in the digital divide, for me, it's turned I have a little notebook I put my little notes to as I'm working, and then I always come back to my little notes. And in my notes to myself and in my leadership meetings just within the school level, I said, I really want to talk about what equity looks like just within teacher proficiency with the digital media, with what we can offer, because it's one thing to get the devices into the hands to the students and then make sure that there's Wi-Fi, and we've done all that we can to get that. Then the next part for me shows, we have a lot of teachers who were excellent and proficient in face-to-face classroom, but they didn't necessarily have the proficiencies to flip this over into Google Classroom. And so it just, for me, has me really thinking, how do I help get my teachers to this point? Teachers who have been receiving their masters in the most recent years, many of them have gotten a lot of work on technology and integrating technology. Many of them have gotten those degrees in that, but many who have been in for a while, we're learning as we're going. And so really looking at how Jonathan mentioned professional learning communities, how at this time we can be a professional learning community where we're sharing those practices and just quickly, even though it's not as in-depth as we need it to be, I'm hoping to get that going. And I know we all are long-term, but how can we get the way we would in our regular buildings, go visiting the classrooms, seeing what it is, and doing that now in this digital space, and doing that and sharing how to get this across to those who are growing in this proficiency. And I think that's the biggest place we're still learning. But like I said, it still started, especially with those teachers who didn't know. That's a great cause of anxiety, on top of anxiety around sicknesses, on top of anxiety around everything, that we're doing. So it's just really been a time of empathy on levels that it's the priority, just understanding, having empathy for each other, for the teachers, for students, for parents, all of it.
I really appreciate
Well
that.
said.
This is the time for compassion and understanding. Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. We could go on for hours and hours, guys. We're gonna have to do this again. Jonathan, you see what you started? It's your fault, man. Mr. McCain, let's hear. Mr. Robert McCain is principal of Barnard School. Mr. McCain, how long have you been at Barnard?
Hey, Tom, how you doing? I've been here 1 year. This is my first year. It's been a very interesting first year.
Were you with the system prior?
No, I've never been in New Haven. I opened up a school in New Haven, in New Britain and Hartford in the last 7 years. Okay, and so I come from that background.
We saved this crisis for you because we knew that you could come and help all the issues. We called all the CIA people and they said, you're the guy. So welcome to New Haven.
It's been great. So my schools were blended learning schools to begin with. So we did the distance learning piece, and each teacher had been doing this for the last 7 years. But it took us, a good 5 years to really get to the point that we really could do it well. My first thing when I saw this happening was, what's the leadership going to be like? And it's going to take courageous leadership to get us through. And Dr. Tracy has been absolutely amazing. The emails she sends out 3 or 4 times a week, just supporting people and asking how people are. And her whole mission, her whole central office staff has been absolutely tremendous. None of this would have ever happened without that. And they were handing out Chromebooks themselves to kids. I mean, it's amazing what leadership can do and how it can help this happen. Our school never would have been in this position of where we're at right now without that. There's no doubt about that. And I echo what John had said about the parents. The parents have been amazing. I meet with parents on calls on Monday nights and Tuesday nights and talk to them about what's going on. And they have been nothing but supportive. I ask how the workload is. Is it too much? Is it too little? They've been incredible. And to pretty much every parent, they'd want to thank the teachers for what an amazing job they're doing. And my staff has really stepped up. It's, I wanted to do the blended learning when I first got here. It was a matter of getting the devices. And actually, Dr. Tracy got us some devices right off the bat. And then I was trying to figure out how we were going to do this. And lo and behold, this happened. So we jumped, like John says, we've jumped multiple years in a few months, multiple years ahead. So the question is, how do you continue this for next year? And how do you continue doing this? Some of the things we used to do is our kids sometimes, depending on what credits they had at the high school, they didn't come to school on certain days. They had jobs, they worked, and we did distance learning and we did blended learning for them. They come in certain days and meet with teachers. Other things they were just doing for credit. It was great. I see maybe Connecticut heading that way, maybe in the fall, where you can't have every kid in the school at the same time because of distance learning. And so what are you going to do for that? And it's a matter of doing the blended learning piece that technology provides us the ability to do. So it's been an amazing ride in New Haven, but the support is it's something I've never even seen before. Everyone cares about everyone. And that's the most important thing. And I think our parents and our kids get that same message that everyone really cares and we're all in this together. And the social and emotional piece has to come first before the academics anyways. And you've got to reach kids and parents at a certain level before they can even start to do the learning part. And I think New Haven does an amazing job with that. And it starts from the top and works its way down. It really does.
Excellent. Just as you were talking, Mr. Robert, my mind flipped to Dr. Comer and the Comer project, and just I'm hearing some of the echoes and what you've just mentioned there. Dee Marshall's with us. Dee's a reading interventionist. Dee, is that your correct title?
Read 180, yes.
And you're at the 7th and 8th grade at Hill Central School. Kind of share with us, because actually, Dee, I was mentioning to Jonathan. Jonathan was on my first show 5 years ago, and you and I have talked about doing a radio show for the last 3 or 4 years. So we finally got you.
Yes.
We got you, Dee. So as we kind of wind down, and again, thanks to everybody, but Dee, share a little bit about what you heard, and hopefully, again, with the Tom Ficklin Show, you might see this to be a useful medium for you at moving in the future. And Dee, just before you speak, Dr. Tracy, I just wanted to mention that in terms of June, not to put any pressure on you, but if I do 4 shows in June on Mondays at 10 o'clock, and if there's some way that I can be involved with helping to celebrate the class of 2020, I'm not sure, I'm not going to put you on the spot in terms of what's being planned for in lieu of graduations, whether there's something that on Mondays at 10 that I can do with students or parents or principals or whatever to celebrate the class of 2020, I would gladly offer up my 45 minutes in June. So I guess
Awesome.
maybe you can get back to me on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Please.
One of the things initially getting started with Google Classroom, of course, that was a task because being a vet, you know, I had to really plunge in to get everything. But I first started off with establishing a routine with the students, and for the first part, just establishing a thriving routine with emotional support and trying to establish that routine with the parents. I thought it was very important to cultivate a routine and to make sure that the students were able to log in. And the unique thing about Read 180 is that we had to eventually implement the computers because they have to do computer skills. So here you have kids that are doing Google Classroom, trying to go to 5 classes. And then here we go introducing, my kids have introducing Universal Read 180 to the students. So that means that they have to leave Google Classroom, go to another site to try to get into the computers. So that in itself has been a task. But the students, I try to stay positive and give them small amounts of meaningful work. And in April, when we really, the end of March, April, when we really start launching this, and it was National Poetry Month. So the first thing I did, I said, okay, I gotta deal with them emotionally. So I had the students, I said, well, first I'm gonna give out these vocabulary words. So I decided to list pandemic, COVID, and believe it or not, you just learn so much from the kids. So one kid put the list of vocabs because I wanted them to know what we were dealing with, and I wanted to feel that emotional side of them. So when I listed those vocab words, and they were said, Miss, this isn't reading. I said, yes, it is. It's learning new words. So what I did, I listed COVID, pandemic, unprecedented, social distancing, spatial distancing, Zoom, corona, virus, contagious. And with that, they said, can we write a poem? I tell you, beautiful spoken word. Well, ma'am, do I have to write it out? Can I just list it? So establishing that social emotional routine was the first thing I had to do. And once doing that, I was able to grasp and get the kids involved.
Excellent.
I've seen parents at grocery stores and they've asked me questions. I didn't know they're supposed to go to every class. So, you know, I get to do a little parent conferencing when I'm out and about at stores. So that's been very helpful. But I think the social and emotional, and Jonathan hit on, you know, the great digital divide, which we all know about. So just keeping the kids involved and keeping them engaged, I find that's the most important thing. I don't work from 9 to 3. I'm working weekends, everything. It's like 24/7. I have kids constantly turning in work, sending emails. So it's not a 9 to 3 job.
Indeed.
Working with the kids.
Dee, we've already agreed to the raise that everybody deserves it to get, and so
yeah. I mean, I get.
It's coming.
And you know, the kids, they want to. Yeah, they want to talk, and they want to know. Like my 8th graders are like sad because there's no graduation, and so I have to be creative with that. I'm planning for them to do an ode to the 8th graders, to list some of the things that they want to leave behind, and perhaps do something that they can deal with those emotional feelings. But it is certainly not a 9 to 3, especially when you're dealing with middle school kids. And some of my high school colleagues that I've spoken with.
As I
music you hear, everybody is wriggling the hook. Harry's giving us the hook. Everybody, thank you so much. And all that means is that we got to do it again.
Where you going? I go in
the mind, like, keep the mind for June.
Blessings. And I know that you keep on working. No, they ain't ready for your final version.
Have a good day,
Get up, hey. Cause this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, hey. Yeah, this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. Way too long, we faced them storms. Now you gon' face the dawn you waited for. I said from night to dawn, I right my wrongs alone. In competition with warnings, ice galore. Now I'm running toward it, my lights are finished being a quitter. But little by little, they joking, telling some riddles. Now I'm in my section, ain't willing to give up. Know you getting knocked down, but you gotta get up. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, hey. Cause this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up.